Troops from the US 82nd Airborne Division on the march in the forests of Arlamov in Poland's Carpathian Mountains. The contingent is part of a wider deployment of 5,000 US troops sent to Poland in recent weeks. That's in addition to the 4,000 American soldiers already in the country. NATO is sending a message that they will defend every inch of alliance territory.
The Ukrainian border is just a few hundred meters down this track. And as thousands of American troops conduct exercises in these Polish forests, Russia has been conducting airstrikes on Ukrainian targets just over the frontier.
There are growing fears of an accidental engagement between the US and Russia. A hotline has been set up to avoid that scenario. But there are also fears that NATO troops in Eastern Europe could be targeted in the event of escalation. Russia's President Vladimir Putin last month raised the alert level of his nuclear forces in response to what he described as NATO's aggressive statements.
And I have a red alert to share with you guys. We have some breaking news coming out of Ukraine in the last day or so. And so there were some strikes on Russian air bases that were 450 miles away from the Ukrainian border, which is just absolutely insane. Gloom. This is going to be a quick one today because I got better things to do, like preparing for the collapse of civilization as we know it. And I can unabashedly say that at this point because sooner than later, we are going to see the normalization of nuclear war and survival skills being practiced on a massive scale, unfortunately. And that is because, look around, folks, it's all falling apart. Now, what do we got going on today? In the last 48 hours, we came within spitting distance of nuclear Armageddon because one leg of the Russian nuclear triad, that is their strategic bombers, were targeted by a Ukrainian drone, and the Russians view the Ukrainians and NATO simultaneously. How could you not when the Ukrainian military is propped up with $100 billion in NATO funding, NATO mercenaries, and NATO intelligence? Anyways, we have that situation. We have a power grid attack in the United States, which is still unexplained. There has been some speculation about the cause of that, although no evidence has been provided. It's still quite possibly something state-sponsored or terrorist-related that's not of a domestic terrorism sort. We have Ukrainians, according to an NGO, are going to be in the dark, and it's going to be a humanitarian disaster by Christmas time. We have 700 tanks supposedly being moved to Poland and Romania. Take that one with a grain of salt. This is the information I am getting. Oftentimes, the information from this source turns out to be correct just a few days later. We have the U.S. military tripling their ammunition production. Nothing to see there. We have more attacks today on Russian military bases, okay, at Kursk and Bryansk. We have UK Trident submarines, you know, those nuclear ones, the ones with nuclear missiles. They have set new records for their longest ever patrols. How great is that? We have another interesting story is that some of the weapons that they're using in the high-intensity conflict going on in Eastern Europe right now, like the HIMARS and the kamikaze Iranian drones, are not functioning that well in winter. As well, NATO is preparing for an all-out cyber war with Russia. There was recently an exercise in Estonia, and China is accusing the United States of stoking the flames of nuclear Armageddon. So let's just talk about this, guys, because like I said, I got better things to do than beat this dead horse to death. Oh, if you guys never seen the movie Threads, don't watch it because you'll be very depressed, and there's no happy ending.
Go back to running. Fourth down.
He just bounded. Oh.
Base, good call.
You this afternoon. Folks, this is not good, but it looks like the United States and NATO is going to get into the war with Russia, folks. United States is shipping 700 M1A Abrams tanks, M2 Bradley fighting vehicles. They plan to invade Western Ukraine and cause an insurrection in Belarus. So this is the news that is being reported. Please share this video out. This is what is coming in just a few hours ago. But I want to read you this important article. Polish-Ukrainian Confederacy with dowry of 700 M1A Abrams tanks and M2 Bradley fighting vehicles. plan to invade Western Ukraine and insurrection in Belarus, colossal transfer of U.S. forces to Poland and Romania. So this is what is happening, folks. We are moving our battle tanks into Poland and Romania. It looks like to invade Western Ukraine and to possibly take over Kaliningrad and invade Belarus in the coming months. It does look like that NATO is going to actually man up, folks. They're going to man up. Instead of using Ukrainian army to do their dirty work, they're actually going to have to go in and do it ourselves. And there's a big possibility that we're going to be engaging Russia directly, because Ukrainian troops don't know how to operate our tanks, folks. They don't know how to operate them. And you're not going to train them in just an afternoon. So this is a picture of some of the tanks now being moved into Poland. He said hundreds of tanks and armored vehicles were moved from the United States to Romania and Poland with Russian authorities on alert. The scene is being set up on the Polish, Ukrainian, and Romanian-Ukraine borders and is reminiscent of a preparation for a major war. The Russians are openly talking about creating a Polish-Ukrainian confederation that will be based on the special status granted by Vladimir Zelensky to Polish citizens and will serve NATO's plans in the region. The first goal of this invasion of these forces in Western Ukraine and then an uprising and overthrow of Lukashenko in Belarus. So this is what we did, folks. In 2014, Victoria Nuland, with the help of George Soros' money, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, they orchestrated the Maidan Revolution in Ukraine and overthrew the legitimate government of Ukraine. So our CIA looks like is going to try to do the same thing in Belarus in just a couple months, invade Belarus, take that away from Russia, probably invade Kaliningrad, take that away from Russia. So we're moving forces. Over 2,400 pieces of armor is going into Europe right now in the next couple of weeks. 700 tanks and armored vehicles such as M2 Bradleys, M113s, and M1A2A Abrams were loaded at the port of Gdynia in Poland. At the same time, an unspecified number of American units for the ship integrity and will reinforce the U.S. Army's 1st Infantry Division.
A third Russian airfield was on fire on Tuesday from a drone strike. Russian media released footage of what they said was the aftermath of the alleged attack on the Kursk region airfield. The governor said an oil storage tank there had been set ablaze, but there were no casualties. It comes a day after Ukraine demonstrated an apparent new ability to penetrate hundreds of miles deep into Russian airspace with attacks on 2 Russia air bases. And on Tuesday prompted Britain's defense ministry to say if Russia assesses the incidents were deliberate, it will probably consider them as some of the most strategically significant failures of force protection since its invasion of Ukraine. Russia confirmed it had been hit by what it said were Soviet-era drones at Engels Air Base, 600 kilometers from the nearest Ukrainian territory. Ukrainian presidential advisor Oleksiy Arestovich said it was the only base Russia has that is fully equipped for the giant bombers Russia has used in attacks on Ukraine's energy grid. And in Ryazan, just a few hours' drive from Moscow, Kiev did not directly claim responsibility for the strikes. It never does with attacks inside Russia, but celebrated them. The New York Times, citing a senior Ukrainian official, said the drones involved in Monday's attacks were launched from Ukrainian territory, and at least one of the strikes was made in the help of special forces close to the base. Russian commentators said on social media that if Ukraine could strike that far inside Russia, it might also be able to hit Moscow. Russia responded to Monday's attacks with missile strikes across Ukraine, destroying homes and knocking out power. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said on Tuesday that it can agree with the United States about the need for lasting peace in Ukraine, but played down the prospect of negotiations until it achieves the goals of its special military operation. That as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited troops close to front lines in the eastern Donbas region to mark the country's Armed Forces Day.
I know that our troops, especially in the east, are the strongest, because it is the most difficult situation in the east.
В населенном пункте Новоселовское на днях провели штурм третьей улицы. И буквально остается зачистить крайние дома 4-й улицы. В данный момент работаем с АГС, также проводится работа с миномета 120-го. Добиваем остатки сил ВСУ на данной улице, после чего поселок будет наш.